All right, so being retired means you have all the time in the world to do what you want, right? Well, not so much if you haven't got it all planned out. So the number one thing that might derail you is if you go into retirement and you have a big project that you want to start. You want to build that new dream home, and that actually is friends of ours are doing that. They're building a brand new home, and I don't think that they realized how much effort they were going to have to put into that and how time consuming it was going to be. And the other thing is maybe you're going to build that new shop, and maybe you're going to help out a friend and act as the project manager because you have time while they're at work and you can kind of coordinate things. Well, that can really hamper what you're going to do in retirement if you have too many projects going. So number two, this is a big problem I've seen with 2 or 3 people that we know, is they end up being full-time babysitters. Yeah, it may start out that you have friends or family who just need, something happens and their babysitter gets sick and you've got to fill in for a week. Well, next thing you know, that turns into 2 weeks, and next thing you know, the babysitter quits, and they end up being the full-time babysitter. And that can be a real problem if you're trying to retire or you have retired and all of a sudden now you've got a child you need to take care of. And I know it's really hard to say no, especially if they're your own grandchildren or something like that, because you love them and you want to help them out. But, child care is so very expensive that a lot of people can't afford it. And that's what's happened to one of the people that we know. They ran upon some misfortune and they just can't afford to pay a daycare, but they need to keep working. So, our friends are having to take care of this child, pretty much every day, 5 days a week. We have another set of friends who, they have a kind of, let's just call it independent daycare, but she shuts down for a week at a time, now I won't say on a whim, but it seems like all the time they're having to watch their grandchildren. Every once in a while they'll have to, pull off what they're doing, even if they're, out of town visiting somebody and come home so they can watch their grandkids. So many of us really love our furry friends, our dogs and cats and pets and things like that. But you got to be careful when you go into retirement that you go in knowing that, if you have several pets, it's going to be really hard for you to travel and to enjoy your full retirement, because people will help you out for a while, and they'll help you out dog sitting or, letting your dogs in and out of your house for, 2-3 times a day for a while. But, after a few months, if you're like my wife and I, where we like to, get out of the house and go do things a couple of times a month, that can be a real issue, because people, they'll just start saying no and they'll start making up excuses, and that will really become cumbersome for you. So you got to be careful about adding on to your existing family, your furry family, as you're going into retirement. Hey, I'd like to pause the video for a moment and let me know down in the comments what you think might tie you down going into retirement, or if you're already retired, what has tied you down. And another thing that can tie you down certain times of the years are your gardens and your yards and things like that. So if you're just going into retirement, think about the time that you need to spend and when you need to be home to do your watering and things like that. And, take a look at putting in a sprinkler system and possibly changing some of your plants out to a lower maintenance type plant, because big yards and big gardens, they take a lot of work, and you can't just take off for 2 weeks at a time. That's one reason I put in a big sprinkler system, and it encompasses most everything. So my wife and I can take off in the middle of summertime and go out and vacation all we want to, and we don't have to worry about it other than the mowing. We can't get out of the mowing, so we may have to. We'll find out next summer, but we may have to pay a kid to go ahead and do some mowing for us if we're going to take an extended vacation, because it could be really tough to get through our lawn if we let it go for 2-3 weeks. And another one is volunteering. And much like babysitting, if you say yes way too much, you can get so involved in volunteering that you can't break loose to go do what you want to do, after a while. So be careful about saying yes to too many volunteer projects. But volunteering, it does make you feel good, and it's a great thing to do. I'm not trying to say don't volunteer. Just be careful about saying yes to every volunteering opportunity that comes up. And another one can be part-time work. Yeah, so you may be in a bridge retirement where you're not going to take your Social Security yet. So you're needing to bridge that gap between full-time work and part-time work. Try to find part-time work that's pretty flexible. And that can be very challenging because none of us want to say no to our employer. So if you go out and get a part-time job, let them know that, you will be wanting to take some time off to do some traveling and things like that, and maybe take some long weekends now and again, because that can be hard. None of us want to say no. It's very hard when you're employed with somebody. A lot of times you can get started in something that's, part-time, I need you for 2 or 3 weeks, and then that extends to 2 or 3 months. And the next thing you know, you're pretty much there, every week working, maybe not full-time, but part-time. So be careful with that and try not to get into a part-time job that's not going to allow you to enjoy your retirement. So I hope this video's done some good and helped you out a little bit. And if it has, go down and hit that like button and watch this video next.